All right, we should be recording now. So, we're going to cover the human intestine, and we'll start with the small intestines. Oh, that's actually on the wrong slide there. Let's go back a slide. See if it'll let me. There we go. All right. So, your small intestine is where we're going to start. We left off talking about the hiatal hernia and how food comes into the stomach here. Well, from this point on, it enters into intestine. And the intestine starts off with obviously the small intestine. And that's where we digest proteins, fats, carbohydrates. Well, all of that breakdown starts when you start chewing, and then the stomach breaks it down even more. And then the small intestine is where you actually start to absorb that material. All right. And so there are cells in your intestine that have these they look almost like hair. They're called hair-like projections, and their actual name is called villi. And if you were to focus in on these villi here, you would get on them, on each one of these cells that exists on the villi, you would have a microvilli. So this is one cell right here. And this guy actually uses diffusion to grab these molecules and pull them into the bloodstream here. And the nutrients that are in your intestine get absorbed by all of these tiny little microvilli that sit on the villi itself. All right. Yeah, pretty easy. So if you look at these folds that exist here, all of these folds exist to create more space, more surface area. If the intestine was just flat, there would not be as much contact with the food. By having these infolds, it creates more surface area, which allows more food to be moved into the bloodstream. Your intestine is actually over 6 meters long. That's 19 feet, almost 20 feet long, stuffed and crammed into your stomach right here. Your abdomen, not your stomach. I apologize. Um, your small intestine's divided into three parts. You have your duodenum, which is right here. This is what your stomach empties into, is your duodenum. Your duodenum then goes into the jejunum, and from the jejunum it goes into the ileum, and then the ileum ends up emptying into your large intestine, which we'll get to in a little bit. Now, there is a sphincter right here. Remember, there's one that goes from the esophagus into the stomach. Well, there's one that goes from the stomach into the small intestine, or the duodenum. That is called the pyloric sphincter. And so your large intestine here starts right here. Your small intestine empties into this point right here, and then your large intestine comes up, around, down, around, and out your body. All right, it is where the actual waste of the body is created. Your large intestine exists in three parts: the cecum, the colon, and then the rectum, which gets rid of it. And so the large intestine's job is to get rid of the indigestible food, the stuff we can't digest. That's what comes out as waste, and it also absorbs water. There's a lot of water that is used in your stomach and your small intestine to help absorb the food, and the body wants that water back, as much of it as it can get. And so your large intestine, one of its jobs is to absorb that water. And so your cecum is just this tiny little part right here. This is where the ileum joins the colon, and it's basically just a receiving pouch for waste. And attached right here at the bottom is your appendix. Your appendix used to be thought of as a vestigial organ, which means it didn't have any purpose to it. They now know that the appendix actually carries some very important bacteria that are specific for digestion in the intestines. And so if you don't have to have it removed, that's a good thing. But if it bursts or swells up and becomes inflamed, your doctor might suggest removing it, and that's just fine. You'll live a normal life without any problems. A lot of people have had their appendix removed. The cecum is right here. The rest of this is the colon to this point right here anyway. You have three parts to it. You have your ascending colon, your transverse colon, and then your descending colon. And then this one actually kind of moves backwards towards the back of the body, and that is called your sigmoid colon. And the main functions of the colon are to extract that water. They'll also get some salts from it, and anything that's undigested, they'll try to absorb, and then it stores your waste material until you can evacuate it. So the last things here, coming down, your sigmoid colon comes down, and then you have the rectum and then the anus to get rid of things. You still use peristalsis to get everything through your intestines, and that includes the waste, which is called feces. And the anus at the far end, there are actually two sphincters that operate. You have one up top and one down bottom. You have no control over this top one, this inner sphincter. It is involuntary, which means when you're ready to go, that bad boy will open up, and this is the one that you have control over, where you say, no, I don't want to go yet. I've got to wait until I find an actual bathroom. Well, eventually the body is actually going to override this if you try and hold it too long, and that's where your emergencies come in, and you find yourself bolting for a toilet, clenching for your life here. That all comes from your control over this and losing control. You can actually get cancer inside the intestines, and if doctors fear that you have cancer, they'll make you drink this liquid that will completely clear you out, and then they'll send a camera up through here looking for these polyps or any kind of cancerous growth that would signal possible cancer. Accessory organs are those organs that sit outside the digestive system but are required to help you digest things. So if you look, you have your stomach and your duodenum of the small intestine right here. Well, you have a gallbladder and a liver that sit outside of that system, but they supply things you need to that system. These accessory organs, the salivary glands, they're what produce the liquid in your mouth. The liver, the pancreas, and the gallbladder all secrete things into the body, and it's all a response out of you consuming food. When you eat food and the food gets into the stomach, it signals the body to produce things, and that's regulated by hormones. So your liver and your gallbladder, the liver is actually the largest internal organ that you have, and it stores sugars, short-term sugars, and it digests fats, and then your blood actually flows to it and it helps detoxify it. The liver actually produces a bile, and it can send that bile straight into the digestion here. But if it doesn't need that yet, it sends it to the gallbladder to store it. And the gallbladder will hold that bile, and when the body needs it, it can send that bile down into the body to be used. All right, so you can see you've got your gallbladder here. We're going to talk about gallstones here in a second. This is what is called a gallstone. This person had a ton of them. Gallstones are produced when the salts and minerals actually cause the bile to harden and turn. It basically looks and feels like a rock. The problem is it has very sharp, very jagged edges, and it can be quite painful. The gallbladder usually contracts to produce or to excrete the bile into the intestines, but it can't do that because the stones are blocking it. If it gets too severe, they actually have to go in and perform surgery to remove the gallbladder. And what they do is they insert a camera through one hole that they've done here, and then they insert different tools and things in there to see so that they don't have to completely slice you open in order to get to the gallbladder. And they'll actually pull your gallbladder up out of one of the holes here. I can't remember which one it is. Um, but this person had their gallbladder cut open and they had so many stones in there. It was good to remove them. I believe 1,898 stones if you counted them all. Yeah, that's just nasty. And so your pancreas is what secretes insulin. If your liver and your gallbladder are up here, your pancreas is over here. Your pancreas is what produces that insulin to break down sugar. It also can produce some juice that helps to neutralize chyme and break down fats, but its main purpose is that insulin. So if you're having problems with insulin production or diabetes, people who are diabetic struggle with or have problems with the pancreas, or they can have problems with the receptor cells on their bodies. Finally, nutrition. I'm going to go quick because I only got about 4 minutes left on the recorder here. Carbohydrates are broken down into sugar. That's sugar specifically is glucose. But the more complex carbs, they have to be biochemically changed. Things like starch, we have to break that starch down. We actually cannot process cellulose at all. And we don't have the enzymes, the proteins to do that. And so we have to have bacteria in our digestive system because they can break down a lot of the sugars that we cannot. They can only do so much. The extra sugar is stored in the liver. The rest you actually get rid of. That's why when you eat certain plants, well, the plant cell bodies are made of sugars, but we can't digest a lot of those cell bodies or those sugar structures, and so they get passed out of our body through the intestines. Proteins are broken down during digestion. We only need the amino acids. We cannot use animal proteins ourselves. Instead, we break down those proteins into their base amino acids, and then we absorb those amino acids and construct them into what we need. A good example would be if somebody built a Lego house and you said, I can't use that Lego house. It's not for me. And so you take it apart, you break all the pieces down, and then you use it to build a different type of house that will fit for you. Well, proteins are the same way. They have to be broken down, and then we use them to build our own proteins. Fats are good. Fats give flavor to food. There are good and fat. Good and fat. There are good and bad fats. We eat a lot of the bad fats because they are delicious. I actually like avocados. This is olive oil. Peanuts, things like that are also good for you. Foods that are high in fats. Not all of these are necessarily bad fats. Like fish fats are actually fairly good for you. Avocado's good for you. So what basically you need to know is if it's saturated or unsaturated, and that'll tell you whether or not it's good for you. Unsaturated fats are generally very good for you or better for you. We eat way too many fats though, and that's a big problem. You do actually need fats to produce steroids in your body. A lot of the problems that you have, like heart disease and needing heart surgery, come as a result of eating these bad fats. So a healthy diet, guys, if you need to eat healthy, and we all do, use this pyramid: exercise and weight control, and then this should be the most of the foods that you try to eat. The big problem is, as Americans, our diet has this pyramid flipped over. We eat from this way down rather than this way up, and that causes a lot of problems in our diet. A good idea would be to fill your plate 2/3 full with this stuff, and then only a third of the rest of these would be beneficial for you. Start small, work your way up. And that's just basically how nutrition is. I went really fast. I apologize. I wanted to get this all in 15 minutes. Make sure you fill out your notes. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.